Hey everyone, it's episode 5 of Beer with Alan. I'm Alan and I'm approaching 3,500 different beers since I started tracking back in 2014. I use the app called Untapped to track, so look me up there under Beer with Alan to see the beers that I've tried. Send me a friend request on there if you're interested. This week, I talked to Adam Chamberland from Cartel Brewing in Lancaster, one of my absolute favorite breweries. That interview is coming up here in a few minutes. I'm going to start first with the rundown of my favorite topics. My current beer count is 3,472. That's unique beers. It still seems pretty likely that I'll hit number 3,500 on my trip to Belgium, which I'm leaving for on Tuesday. As I will also hit a lot of old favorites, it's possible that I may not get to 3,500 until after we get back. The best beer I had since the last episode. My friends and I did a beer share back on the 13th, and we had a ton of great stuff. The one that stood out to me above all others was the Double Barrel Starve Exhibit H from the Vale in Richmond, Virginia. The regular version of this one was my number one beer of 2024. I made that video back at the end of that year. Hopefully you got to see it. This double barrel version did not disappoint. Just a magnificent beer all around. The time and care put into the making of this beer is just amazing. I can't wait to try Exhibit J when I attend the Vale's Forever Summerfest at the end of July. Looking at my recent good runs, back on the 14th of June, I did my long Sunday run at Pennypack Park in Philadelphia. Now, I run fairly often on the newer Pennypack Trail that goes through eastern Montgomery County, but I don't do the old trail in the park very often anymore. It has some serious hills, and it's terrible on the GPS because all of the curves of the creek and all the trees, it's always wildly off at the end of the run when I look at it. But it's a really pretty run that I always enjoy a lot, and I enjoyed it a lot this time. The shade helps a lot in the heat of the summer, and it's almost all shaded. There really are just a few spots along the way where the sun is directly on you. Most of it is right along the creek and just really nicely shaded throughout the thing. The hills give you a real challenge though, so it kind of depends on what you're looking for, because even if it's shaded, when it's very hot, big hills can seem even that much larger. It happens to me all the time there, so I don't do it very often. I'm glad I did it this time. I'm glad I get there every once in a while for a nice run. I should go sometime when it's a little cooler out and I can just enjoy the whole run, but I did enjoy it this time. It's very peaceful, very beautiful scenery and all of that. Very nice. Speaking of running, I always like to make mention of my plans for my next marathon, even though it's not a super dynamic subject and that it doesn't change that often. I have been working on deciding on the race that I'm going to do this fall, and I'm going to have to start training for it pretty soon, so I really need to lock it in. Now, it looks like I'll be in Charleston, South Carolina for a festival in late October. So because of that, I'm very close to committing to the Rehoboth Beach Marathon in Delaware in December rather than the Kiowa Island one, as I will have just been down there for this beer festival. I need to start looking at the details of the Rehoboth race to see if anything has changed since I did it in 2024. Obviously, it's only about a year and a half ago at this point. I don't imagine anything will have changed, but sometimes places tweak the race course a little bit. The course there is good. I love the town. There's a big long stretch in that race that goes through a park that is nice and pretty and quiet, but sometimes you don't really want a lot of quiet in a marathon. You want a lot of crowd support, a lot of people cheering, and there wasn't as much of that in that long stretch of this race. But then again, it was really nice scenery, and reasonably flat. And it was actually very cold. I would take a little bit warmer next time if I can get it. But you know what? You get what you get when it comes to marathon weather. In the world of sports, it's all about the World Cup right now. The World Cup has been just tremendous so far. The U.S. has looked great in its matches, and there have been so many exciting games with other teams. I love watching underdog teams like Cape Verde and the Democratic Republic of the Congo. These countries really did themselves proud so far, and they're still hanging in there. Maybe they have a chance to move on to the next round. I love watching the big star players play up to their billing, like we saw with Messi, Mbappe, Haaland, and Kane. Messi, I just finished watching the Argentina match today. He scored 2 more goals and now holds the record for most World Cup goals ever by an individual. Really unbelievable to watch that guy play. Even he's much older now, and he's still doing it as good as anybody ever has. The Philadelphia Phillies continue to play well. They're now firmly in a wild card spot in the National League. They've got time to chase down the Braves for the division if they keep playing this well, but I guess we'll see. The pitching has been really good. Schwarber is a monster. Bryce Harper has started playing like Bryce Harper. He hit for the cycle the other day, and then yesterday he had a single, a double, and a home run. We'll really take that Bryce Harper every day if we can get him. Really impressive to see these guys really starting to click, play well as a team. Don Mattingly seems to have made a big difference as the manager since he took over. I'm not really sure how a baseball manager makes a really big day-to-day impact. Sometimes it's just vibes, but whatever it is, it seems to be working pretty well for the Phillies. In the area of upcoming trips, it's right on top of me right now. So we're leaving for our trip on June 23rd. We'll be in Paris on the 24th and 25th, and then we'll head to Belgium, starting with Ghent for a few days. One of the days that we're staying over in Ghent, we'll actually be visiting Antwerp and Westmalle, but then we'll go back to Ghent to stay there. We then have Bruges for a couple of days, starting on the 29th, Poitou and Ypres starting on July 1st, back to France to see Lille on the 3rd, and then to Brussels for a few days starting on the 4th. We'll end for a fun day at Disneyland Paris on the 7th, and then we'll head home. For those of you who are in those cities, I'll post something in the morning of a few of those days saying which brewery or bar I'll be checking out in case you want to come out and say hi. I'd love to see people if anybody wants to show up. Mostly I'll be seeking out great beer in all of these wonderful places with such a great beer history. I hope I get to see a few of you along the way. Okay, so I am here today with Adam Chamberland from Cartel Brewing in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, which is one of my favorite breweries. They make unbelievable beer. They're unbelievably nice people. I've been out to their place several times. If any of you had followed back when I did my video about my 3,000th different beer, I did that at Cartel. Some nice people came out and joined us for it. It was great. Adam, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Awesome. Getting very excited for this trip I've got coming up tomorrow. Starting in Paris for a couple of days, and then we'll be in Belgium for the most part for the rest of the trip. A few different cities. Have you ever been to Belgium?
I have not. I'd love to go. Super jealous of all your travels, but one of these days.
Yeah, it's. As I imagine, I probably told you at some point, I was supposed to do this trip last year, and I spectacularly blew it up the night before we were supposed to leave when I discovered that my passport was expired, and we did nothing of the sort. But we got it all back together, all the places we were supposed to see the first time, we're going to see this time. Very excited for it.
Yeah, awesome. Culminator. Remember I told you about that one. Make sure you check that one.
You did. That's right. And you know what? They closed.
They did. I heard that. Yeah.
They did. Yeah. It was on my list. I was reaching out to them to see if I could, kind of make sure that I read all this stuff about how hard it can be to get in. Like they open the door, and if you say the wrong thing, they're going to close the door on you. Mm-hmm. But yes, they closed, and they are no more, which is disappointing. I was excited for it.
I wonder what they did with all the beers.
I don't know. Well, the folks are still around, so I suppose they're drinking them and sharing them with people, maybe.
Yeah.
So tell me, when did you know you wanted to be a brewer and own a brewery?
Um, Probably like 2014, maybe 2015, kind of the mid-teens, kind of in the middle of the boom, if you will. Started getting into craft beer probably like 2006, 2007, um, and then started homebrewing not long after that. So
How long into that were you when you realized that you were good at it?
um, it was funny because it wasn't like something. It was more of a hobby and not like anything I wanted measured or evaluated. But through being in a bunch of different beer groups, beer trading groups, and all sorts of things, I happened to share a beer with somebody who at the time was running the homebrew competition for the Lidditz Craft Beer Festival, which is kind of a big, really nice, really good festival, like one of the better festivals in the state. And he encouraged me to enter this beer, and so I kind of
What kind of beer was it?
it was a it was a big imperial stout with espresso.
Oh, okay. All right. So,
That was
so you entered it in.
yeah, I think that was 2015 actually when I
Okay.
actually entered that in there. I was sharing it in the parking lot of Tired Hands, waiting for a beer release, and then I had it all bottled, and so I had to like rush home and figure out like make sure I force carbed it because it wasn't ready yet, but the deadline was 2 days later. So I had to like literally dump it out of bottles back into the keg, force carbonate it, refill the bottles, and have it submitted by the deadline. Um, it was called Stowaway, and we entered it. It got to the top 10 out of like 105 beers, and then it ended up winning the whole thing by public vote. Um,
Nice.
and public vote is great as well as beer judging. I mean, obviously, beer judges are going to give you a lot more technical critique, um,
Sure.
but the public are the people that are actually going to show up and buy it. So it's really nice to have some validation from actual people that appreciate good beer and will show up and buy it. So
Absolutely.
that's why, yeah, probably around 2015 after that happened. And at that time, obviously, like craft beer was still on the rise and was super popular, and people were opening breweries left and right. And it's kind of funny. It's like after that festival, random people started coming over and trying to say, "Oh, you should start a brewery. I might want to invest." It's kind of like you play a great set in a band, and all of a sudden somebody wants to discover you, type of thing. So it created that excitement, but it really kind of just pushed me and at the time one of my buddies who I was doing it with to pursue it further, invest in better equipment, invest in things, ways that we can control the process better from controlled fermentation temperatures. Um, we raised a little bit of money just from our group of friends to fund some of the equipment, and then in exchange, it's kind of like we're going to do a bunch of batches, and you're all going to get some, kind of sort of thing like that. And so that was kind of the time where I thought we could really do it. Then there was this period of time where, because I felt like the market was getting so saturated, and all along that time, I was looking at the industry through the lens of like marketing, sales, analytics, opportunity, consumer buying behavior, psychology. Why are people doing this? Why are they so attracted to this? And so having kind of followed craft beer and being a fan of it through that lens of what I was doing for a living, um, started to see the trend shift away from going to a bigger brewery or buying a 6 pack at a grocery store. People seemed to want to go to the source and drink it 50 feet from where it was made and meet the person who made it and have great conversations and buy it from them directly and that sort of thing. And so when that started to trend, it felt like, okay, this might make sense, because I didn't know how to, you know, do a huge, large scale distribution operation. I just wanted to make smaller batch, higher quality beer that I could just move myself to whatever audience we would have. So that's
Well, that
kind of
makes a lot of sense. And coming at it from sort of such an analytical perspective is interesting. I wonder how many people get into it. You know, they like to make beer, they're good at it. They decide, well, I should do this, and they make great beer, but they don't necessarily last because there's so much more to the business, right?
hmm
Seems
yeah.
like you've got a good, healthy approach to all of that.
Yeah, it's still tough. I mean, a lot's changed since 2015. So, um, there's always new things to learn and things to relearn and all that good stuff. So, um,
How do you battle against the? I don't know if certainly there's some reality to it, but there's also the perception with some people that you know craft beer had its day, and the market's contracting a little bit, or at least it's changing.
yeah,
How do you go with that?
it definitely is. It's kind of, you get the typical media like slight exaggeration factor. Um, when you actually look at the numbers, like the overall decline, at least in Pennsylvania, hasn't been like huge, but there's definitely a shift. I think there's a smaller pool of people to share between a large number of breweries. So over the last 10 years, the beer drinker has become more educated and knows what good beer is and what not so good beer is, and they're going to vote with their dollars because they only have so many to so many to spend these days. And so it's just kind of survival of the fittest, I guess. I don't, and that's why we're always just trying to stay on top of that from a quality standpoint. But it's also, people are looking for experiences now. It's not make a beer and they will come get it. It's we'll come there for whatever, for a beer dinner or some other experience, and the beer is an accessory to that.
Hmm.
It's an enhancement to that. It's not the main thing for everybody anymore. I mean, there's still a core group of people like us, Alan, that'll still get in their cars and drive for a fun beer. But there's also so many great beers now within a short distance. You don't have to necessarily drive to Vermont or Asheville or Richmond to find what you're looking for, which is great. There's a lot of great people making great beer. Um, but yeah, it's definitely changed. It's the post-COVID world of behavior changes and generational changes, and making sure the people that loved beer back then are still interested. Um,
I'm
and
curious how much of the change in tastes, that you either read about or I like. I think I hear about different kinds of trends and changes because of the breweries and beverage companies that contact me, and I start to notice like the kinds of things they're looking to push and promote. And right now, for a while, every contact I got was about their new non-alcoholic beer that this or that brewery was doing. Now I'm starting to see something in between, which are these sort of low ABV, not even like the low kind of 3.84 percentage beers, but like 2.5 stuff that I'm not even used to seeing at all. But places
Mhm.
are trying to make, and I I wonder, is that the market is really driving that, or the beverage companies are just trying something and hope it catches?
There are trends towards it, and like I certainly don't mind testing our hand at some of them. But I see it as some of them might stick long term, some of them might not. So if you chase every little thing and try to modify your entire vision around it, and then you wake up a year or two later and it's dead, I'd rather just kind of stay somewhat consistent with what we're doing.
Sure.
And that way, it's like when things come back around, if they do, we're still sitting in a great position, even though we will have, tried things like we do. We've tried lower ABV beers. It's actually hard to do. Like I tried to get a beer land in the 3%, 3 to 3.5% range. I don't go much lower than that because I feel like you lose so much flavor. Um,
Yeah.
and it always ferments higher. It's like efficiency is higher when you're using less malt, and so kind of dialing that in. It's actually harder for me to make a low ABV beer than it is a high one. Um,
Interesting.
but yeah, so uh, another thing, like kind of mentioning back in 2015, you notice that like the consumer shifted towards wanting to go to the local tap room, and there's still plenty of people that enjoy that and will do that. But now it's kind of ironic that we're seeing things shift back in the direction of going to Wegmans and buying a six pack. Um,
Mhm.
which is, I say ironic because it's like a lot of us brewers, like we just wanted to make and sell beer at our own place. Like we didn't necessarily want like huge distribution. We didn't necessarily want restaurants and playgrounds and all these different things you have to do to get people in the door. We just want to make and sell beer, but we had to adapt to a market that was like, well, now we want food. Well, now we want this. Now we want that, and you're just chasing what somebody said they wanted, whether they follow through if you do it or not. And now everything that most of us wanted to begin with is now coming back full circle, where it's like, okay, well, we could have just set up a big warehouse somewhere and like canned a bunch and sent it out, and people bought it at a grocery store or at a bottle shop or whatever. And it's because the behavior now is, things are really expensive. Real estate's gone up. Everything's gone up. Disposable incomes for many people have gone down. They're used to DoorDash and all these delivery services and Amazon and everything. It's like they're not always going to go out as much anymore and have a $7 beer plus tip when they
Right.
can get a $10 six pack, cook at home or order in,
Yeah.
and not and save money. Still kind of scratch the itch that they have when it comes to having a beer. Um, so now it's like, well, how do we slowly dip our toes in the water for putting a canning program together and maybe getting some cans on shelves in a few select places, um, because that's a marketing tool as well. It's you find it at a store, you don't even know the brewery's down the street from you. You drink it, you like it, you're like, where are these guys? And you find out that they're 10 minutes from your house, and now we're generating customers, just because we have a can sitting on a shelf somewhere. But yeah, it's kind of coming around again to that. It seems that's what I'm seeing that a lot. I don't know if that's like national, but I've
It
noticed
makes
it.
sense though.
Yeah, yeah,
And then, I mean, and the other side of the business, which you mentioned, like, you know, you guys do food too. A lot of places that I go to, they don't. They have a food truck that pulls out that sort of thing. But I wonder, I think in some ways, I'm sure it complicates the business being a restaurant in addition to being
oh
a
yeah,
brewery. You've got the advantage of that you're a really good restaurant, so it's not just having some food for the people that are coming to have the beer. Like, I assume you've got a customer base that comes to eat dinner there, and maybe
hmm
they probably like the beer too. But you know, having great food is a big differentiator.
oh yeah, absolutely. Um, but when you do that, it's kind of you're always going to get the group of people that like, we are still a brewery, but then they come in and they expect you to have the full restaurant dining experience that you might get with someone who is focused on being a restaurant and not
Right.
a brewery, kind of brewery first restaurant. Yeah. But we've done really well. I'm really proud of the team here, and our reviews are incredible. Our ratings are really good. We've never really asked anybody to leave a review, so it's completely organic. I just, I like numbers that are real. I don't. I'd have more anxiety if I knew that I had like an army of people that I told to like, hey, go give us a bunch of 5-star reviews. It's like, no, I want the real score. Like, I want to know. I want to know, how we're actually doing.
Yeah.
Same with
Yeah.
Untapped too. Untapped's a tricky one, but like, our average is not as high as I would want, but it's pretty high. Um, but again, that's another one where it's like, I don't have an army in my pocket of people pounding fives on my beer. So what we get is what we get, and we're pretty happy with it so far.
Yeah, I mean, I use Untapped just really to keep track of my own stuff, and I talk about it. I talk about beer ratings and the highest rated beer from here and there and whatever, because it's that's the data that I can get, right?
Hmm.
Um, and it's true that it's a pretty specific audience using those tools, and it's not necessarily the public in general. And then you've got people with an agenda, and because it's a smaller audience, people with the agenda can have an outsized effect on the results. But um, it's it's an interesting thing to look at, a compare between places and see the kinds of places that hit the really crazy high numbers and the kinds of places that don't. And it's in some ways I hate the fact that I kind of promote it because I talk about it, and it has its obvious flaws. But again, like from your end, yeah, I can see why there would be very little value in trying to have artificially goose the numbers. Um, you kind of take the numbers for what they are, and get
Hmm.
what you can from them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's kind of a social experiment, kind of watching how people behave and how brands will just naturally draw a higher score simply because of the brand that it is and not necessarily because of the beer being being like that.
sure.
I,
Yeah, and I
I
have to wade through that all the time when I look at the things that get recommended to me and the things that get sent to me, and all. Like I'll think, oh well, I got to go to this place. I got to go check out this place. People told me about. They rave about it all the time, and I go and like, all right, it was good, but like doesn't seem to match the reputation that everybody sold to me. And then I can find places at the other end where places I didn't know anything about, and that I end up loving. So it's
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's an
Well,
interesting thing, and the amount of marketing that you do to get to that point. I Yeah, I don't know how that works. Honestly, that hasn't been something I've looked into much. I know that I'm super grateful that a year and a half ago you sent me a message saying, "Hey, come check out our beer dinner," because I imagine I would have found you guys at some point, but finding you when I did through that method, and knowing that just I've told you before, I think the beer is phenomenal. I really do.
I appreciate it.
Haven't had anything there that I didn't think was exceptional. So I'm excited, to that I get a chance to drink it.
Yeah, and you're so close.
Well, close enough to get there.
Close enough. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So you've been doing some expanding, right? In the past year or so, you've
Working on it. It's
yeah.
taken everything always takes longer than you expect, but yeah, we signed a lease for another smaller property in Mannheim. Hoping to wrap that up in the next couple of months, just because it was just an empty space, so it needed everything built. Plumbing, electric, bathrooms, back of house, cooler, all that stuff. So hopefully, this year, this summer, maybe late summer, we'll be able to open that. But that's more of like a small. I call it kind of an elevated dive bar kind of concept. The food concept's not going to be as robust as our main location. Um, Kind of a corner neighborhood spot. Like maybe 30, 40 people capacity. Um, yeah, and it's in an area that doesn't really have much and has almost doubled in population. And I mean, there's so many people every single week that just keep asking when it's opening. So I think it's going to go well once we can finally open it. And other than that, we have kind of a partnership project with the former Tattered Flag Brewery in Middletown. Um, that building still houses all their original equipment, so we were able to just kind of lease that building with all the equipment in it and use it and kind of figure out how we can make it work for us. And Ya Brew is the other brewery that's, I mean, pretty much running that under their main license for their
Okay.
brewery. Um, and we haven't really announced much yet, but we're looking at pretty soon here, potentially having a footprint in Lidditz as well. So
Oh, nice.
um,
I don't know if my
another
audience
great town.
necessarily, I'm sorry to interrupt. I was just going to
Yeah,
say, I don't know if my audience knows Lidditz, Pennsylvania.
yeah,
If you're not from the area, you probably don't.
yeah.
But what a great little town.
Oh, it's awesome. Great. Oh man, there's some great breweries. There's a really awesome English pub, and it's
Yeah.
kind of the
The Bull's
epicenter.
Head. I love the Bull's Head.
Yeah, and in Lidditz, Pennsylvania, it's kind of the epicenter for any world tour that happens starts in Lidditz, Pennsylvania.
Oh, right. The big stage. The,
The stage, lighting, sound, the
yeah.
set design. I mean, some of the best guitar players in the world. Their pedals are worked on right in Lidditz, Pennsylvania, by an older gentleman who's done it forever, and that's who they trust. So it's kind of a cool little side piece of like what Lidditz has been and will always be. But
Right.
so
But
yeah,
it's a,
Mannheim as well is part of Lancaster County. Is about 25 minutes north of our main location. So, um, and that's part of the strategy too. When you bring that up, it's like what does it look like now? It's like not everybody is going to drive a half hour um, to come to your place regularly, but we could use our main location to send beer to other neighborhoods and occupy and operate the small tap rooms that become their own, um, and we're leveraging equipment and capacity that we already have to feed other communities with some of our beers.
that's great. So, well, so speaking of your beer, what is your favorite cartel beer?
Ooh. Um, hmm. It's always between, you know me, Alan. It's always between the barrel aged stout or the barrel aged barley wine.
Well, a man after my own heart.
So I guess I should say like I did blend both of them together 50-50 into a keg. So I would say that, the Enigma or the Villain. Yeah, probably right now the Enigma barley wine, the
Okay.
bourbon barrel one. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. And you mentioned Villain. That was my 2025 number one beer of the year. Although that was a beer that wasn't from 2025. I think it was
It was a
2023.
vintage. It was a vintage but you tried
Yeah.
it in 2020. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. I drank it in 2025. That was fantastic. Do you have and of course right there behind it was Obscarcity, which was the beer that I drank for my 3,000th different beer. That thing that was a tiny batch, right? What'd you have? 5 gallons of it?
Yep. Yep. I want to do another one, and I should have started it right around that time because we would have been almost a year in already. But yeah, probably
Right.
gonna start another one and kind of see what happens. Um, I really enjoyed that one too. But
Yeah, that was fantastic. Do you have something new in the works as far as a beer that you're excited for?
um, well, was really excited to finally release our first mixed culture beer, which just came out recently around the beer dinner. We did a Flanders Red traditional. Sat in French oak Cabernet Franc barrels for almost 2 years, I think 21 months, and we imported the the culture that we used from the Flemish region of Belgium. Um, Let it take its time and got to where it was just what it needed to be, um, and when we emptied those barrels, we refilled them with our Belgian Tripel to let that sour. So it'll be a stronger sour. Um,
Oh,
some of
interesting.
my favorite sours are. And I'm not a huge sour person, but like I can get into them occasionally. Is Russian Rivers, Consecration, Supplication,
Those are really cool. Yeah.
um, as well as of course the Belgians that you're about to enjoy. Um,
Yeah, yeah. Speaking of Flanders, I'll be there in a few days, so I expect to try some good ones right out of their barrels.
yeah, yeah. Well, and we did. We recently did our own private barrel pick for a bourbon, And so we were able to then have the empty barrel from the bourbon that we picked to then age a beer in. And then what we might do is take the beer out when it's done, and then somebody will age a bourbon that had beer in it prior, and just keep the circle of
Yeah,
life going.
that's cool.
So those are always fun projects. There's always stuff going on, but those are the ones that come to mind right now. Um,
What's
we
your
made wheat
favorite?
wine again.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, so we finally made wheat wine again. You were here
Yeah,
for that.
I was.
So we'll see
Yeah.
how that one turns out in probably another year or so. But yeah, go ahead. What was the other
No,
question?
well, and should be right about another year from now when I'm hitting number 4,000. So, uh, you know, maybe it'll be that one.
Yeah, perhaps.
I was going to say, what's your favorite beer made by somebody else that is not a cartel beer?
Yeah, that's always a tough question. No matter what I've had, though, I always go back to Hell Farmstead Aaron's one of my favorite beers of all time. It's barley wine.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it's been on my list to have, but I have not had it yet.
yeah, I mean, barley wine's my favorite style, so that one's kind of always been a staple favorite. But I've had so many good ones since then, and I don't necessarily take the time to really sit down and move the ratings like you do with your top 10 lists or all that stuff. Just kind of, you know, always know that if I get one of those, it's always going to be good for the most part. But
Yeah,
my favorite brewery too.
yeah,
Right.
they're awesome, definitely. I um, I was just out at that Firestone Walker Invitational Beer Festival a few weeks ago, and Hill Farmstead was there, and but there were a lot of breweries there, and I was making my way around, and once the full crowd came in, there were a lot of people, lots of lines, all that kind of thing, and so when I first tried to go over to Hill Farmstead, it was a bigger crowd than I wanted to wait in line for. So I hit something else, and then by the time I got back, they had wrapped up their stuff, and
Oh
uh,
man.
was nothing left. So, yeah, that happened a couple of times there, but I got so much good stuff anyway, so it all worked out nicely. But I did not get a fix of Hill Farmstead while I was there. But
Mm.
they make some fantastic beer. I, I I joke, or well, other people tell me I like to joke that I've talked about barley wine more than anybody in the history of the internet, as far as putting material out about it. People like to joke that I'll say, oh well, I'm going to announce a beer, my favorite thing of something, and everyone's like, let me guess, it's a barley wine. So
It's not a bad
it's
thing.
it's absolutely not a bad thing. But it's nice to hear somebody else say that it's also their favorite style.
What do you think of the Utopias right behind you? That's
Uh,
an intense one.
yeah, there's two different ones. That's a 2023 and a 2025. So one of them was 28%, one was 30%,
Ugh.
and they're 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 fairly different from each other. Um, just super strong. I obviously that goes without saying. That first aroma you get from it and the first taste is not extremely different from drinking whiskey. But then the deeper flavor doesn't taste like drinking whiskey. It tastes like its own thing. It's really not like anything else that I've had, and I enjoy it. I think I like the 28% one a little bit better than the 30% one. Um, but they change the combination of types of barrels that they use every time they put it out, and it's neat. It's obviously a special experience, and um, it's priced accordingly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
have you ever tried it?
I have. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
a couple of times. The first time I tried it, it was kind of embarrassing. I don't know. I was at, and this was kind of a pinnacle moment for me, just with beer. I had an opportunity to go to Great American Beer Fest in 2012. Stayed with a friend who had moved out there, and we were occupying his home, and eventually bought his home here. And we were at the Thursday session, and we're just kind of walking around, and I didn't know. I mean, I was still at the beginning of kind of what is all of this, and we walk over to the Sam Adams tent, and they had this huge like Utopia's 10-year old or 10-year anniversary or some kind of a crazy special thing, and so we just kind of walk up to the side of the tent and hold our cups up, and the guy kind of like rolls his eyes and like puts some in our cup, like probably like a half ounce or so, and then we kind of walk away, and then I look back and I'm like, oh no, and like apparently there was a huge line just like wrapped around the whole
Oh,
thing.
you cut the
We
line.
totally cut the line. We didn't even realize it because we used to just walking up to a stand and like they give you a pour, and so we're like standing there, and we both try it, and we're just like, it's just kind of like brandy cognac, kind of like really syrupy, cough syrupy, medicinal, just like untrained palate over here, just like. And so we literally dumped it into the trash can in front of the people.
In front of the people who you had cut in front of
I
it.
know,
Oh, wow.
it's terrible. It's like, uh,
You're lucky that this was
let
a place full of like fancy beer drinkers, because anybody else, well, first, they wouldn't have let you cut the line in the first place, I suppose. But after that, they probably would have punched you.
yeah, not a good look, but um, yeah, that's kind of the first time I tried. I had it several years later and enjoyed it a little bit more, but
That's cool.
yeah,
It's very different from drinking anything else. And before they made the Utopias, they made the Triple Bock, which was like a really unusual beer as well. I don't know if you'd ever gotten to
I
have
I
that
had
one.
see I only had that one when it was past its prime, like
Me too.
2015. We purchased some bottles from somebody who was trying to get rid of their beer cellar, and they had triple box that were like 1997, 1998, and we poured it out, and it was just like it just tasted like soy sauce, like just.
Yeah.
And so instead of dumping it, we put it all in a container and marinated steaks with it.
All right. Well, you made use of it.
I don't know.
I had
Wish I could
just
have tried one that was in its prime or correct, but
yeah. Well, just recently, I got to try. So the Vale in Richmond, Virginia, for their anniversary thing, that their 30th,
mm-hmm.
no, no, not 30th
30.
anniversary. That was not them.
Well, Triple
Um,
Crossing was 10, I think, or the Veil was it 10?
yeah, right. Yeah, Firestone Walker was just 30, which is why I had 30 in my head because I was just there. But I don't remember which year it is, but the Vale has made and um, was selling it, I guess, at a recent event for their anniversary, a beer they called C, which they made using, I guess, the original recipe from Sam Adams Triple Bock, and so they were trying to
Oh wow,
estimate that beer as much as possible, as closely as possible. It was like 21.2%.
wow.
Um,
Do they
and
ice box that?
what's that?
Not an ice box. It's just a. You know what I mean? Like I don't know.
Yeah,
Like, they don't ice distill it to get it that high. They just
I don't know actually. I'm curious. I'll be down there next month. I'll find out. But it's it was actually a really good beer. So if that's what Triple Bock was supposed to taste like in the first place, I can get it. I can get what they were going for there. They
Mhm.
called it C because they said that it should be able to age for 100 years.
Oh,
So,
we'll
which
see.
I know the Triple Bock couldn't, at least not the way the bottle that I had was handled. But you can certainly mishandle those things.
Yeah.
So what is your go-to beer? You talked about your favorite beer, but like, what's a beer that you'll just drink if you just got to grab a beer because you want one? What are you going to drink?
Um, I was trying to think about that because it really varies. I mean, I'm always down for my English mild public. That's kind of one that I'll consistently grab. But I'm always trying stuff, and lately it's just we made our interpretation of Trogs' Nugget Nectar, and,
Okay,
and I love the flavors and the hop blend for that beer, and just the bitterness. And I probably have had been grabbing that more than
that's a
anything
good
else
beer.
lately. Um, yeah, that's. I mean, it's seasonal too. It's like okay, so it's summertime when we go down to my beach beer is Allagash White.
Okay. Can never
I
go
don't
wrong
really
with an
drink it much
Allagash White.
other times of the year. I don't really drink a wit beer but I don't know. That's just summer beer.
Is
An
there
Allagash
a
incredible brewery.
what my followers call gas station beers? Is there a gas station beer that you'll drink?
Gas station beer. Uh, I mean, there's some good beers at gas stations these days. Um, there is. I'm just trying to. Which one would I reach for if I went into a gas station? It might just be like a Yingling.
Okay.
Oh wow.
That's fair enough answer, especially for somebody from Pennsylvania.
Probably yeah, it's probably some sort of lager because gas station beers, if sometimes those beers have sat in there too long and they're not, you know,
Yeah,
fresh. And lagers can outlast time more than
sure.
hoppy beers. Um, it's funny, Alan, because you go from like constantly buying beers and you know building a cellar to now it's like I don't get out as much anymore. So it's like most of the beer that I drink is the beer that I make, or
Right.
people will drop off stuff constantly. Like,
Sure.
hey, I got you a 4-pack of this, or I got you a 4-pack of that, or 6-pack of this.
Right.
Um, I find myself buying Trogs more than anything else, though. Like their lagers, their new lagers are incredible. Their dark lagers,
Oh,
so
the Pennsylvania lager, the Pennsylvania. Yeah, that
Mhm.
dark lager is really nice.
Yeah, it's very good. Or like I said, or like their Nugget Nectar, or sometimes I'll just grab a 6-pack of Troganator because that's a great beer too. So,
Always. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Um, I get asked that question, the gas station beer question, a fair amount, and most of the time, like I've got a lot of beer here in my house, and so I rarely do I have an occasion to drink what they're calling a gas station beer, and it's not usually something I'm necessarily
yeah,
going to
what
reach
is a
for
gas
anyway.
station beer? Is it like non-craft? Is it
Yeah, I
just
guess that's what they mean. It's just something that you could buy, like at any gas station you walked into. I guess which is in most states because I don't think of Pennsylvania as selling beer in gas stations, but um, I guess they
highlight?
mean yeah,
I think
just
if I was gonna go with something like that, or like a macro beer,
yeah.
I like High Life.
Okay.
Um, yeah,
I think High Life is the answer that I've heard from brewers more than any other. So there's something to that one.
hmm
To me, I mine is not quite as macro as that, I suppose, but in that general style. I like a red stripe.
oh nice, yeah.
Yeah, I I don't know why. If I sat it next to something else in glasses that were unmarked, I don't know if I would necessarily pick it. But I think back to the first time I went to Jamaica and I sat on the beach drinking red stripe, and
hmm
so I'll grab that, and that's what I'll think of.
Modelo, that's a good one too.
Yeah, that's cool. What's your you know, talked about this trip coming up, and the reason I'm going to Belgium is because, like, if you could pick a country, where to me that's the country for beer. That's where I want to go. It's Belgium. Is that the same answer for you, or is it a different country that you focus on?
Country, yeah. If outside of the U.S.,
Yeah,
obviously,
outside of the U.S.
because there's so much here. Yeah, it probably would be Belgium.
It, it's hard to
Yeah,
argue with. It's
Germany
so
would be
good.
a
I mean, look,
Germany would
Germany
be a
and
close
Czech
second.
Republic and
It'd be cool to
places.
do. Yeah, it'd be cool to do an
Yeah,
Oktoberfest in Germany, just for
yeah,
just at least once.
absolutely.
But yeah, Belgium for sure. That'd be the first.
That's cool. How about states in the U.S. that and again, maybe accepting Pennsylvania.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, growing up in New England and Vermont, Vermont is probably still my favorite. Um, Although it's probably been 10 years since I've been to Colorado, so I know a lot's changed. Like if I really properly did Colorado again, that might change. My my opinion might change. But Vermont um, would be my favorite state for beer.
Yeah, so much good stuff coming from there. I did a series of videos over the last year highlighting different things from, you know, something from every state, and I looked at, you know, kind of the response that I got from places, and you know, we were talking earlier before we were recording about, you know, really looking at analytics and stuff like that, and I was curious as to the correlation between how many views and comments and stuff my videos would get about a certain state versus the population in that state
Hmm.
versus where they are on the chart of how much beer is produced in that state. And I tried to find correlations. It was very inexact. Um, but Vermont was really the one that stood out because population wise, they're tiny. And it was one of the most responded to videos and most seen videos that I made in that series was about Vermont. So that's certainly also impacted by people who aren't from Vermont loving beer that's from Vermont because they've
Hmm.
got that reputation. Um,
Yeah, I mean California is huge and has a ton, but it's like Vermont. You could cover that whole state in a short period of time and really have like a quality over quantity experience with legendary brands that kind of set the tone for a lot of what we have now, um, everywhere. So yeah.
yeah, I was going to mention that, like, if you took out that sort of concentration aspect of it, like if I had to pick one state, well, the only beer you could get from this point out is from this state. What state are you picking? Um, and you know, me liking variety and all of that kind of thing, I probably pick California because there's so much variety, so many places, and tons of really great stuff coming from
Mhm.
California. Um, you know, San Diego alone, there's so much around around
Yeah.
there that's fantastic. So it's yeah, it's an interesting thing to look at. Do you when you travel, do you like to visit breweries just as a
Yeah,
guest?
whenever I can. I mean, we used to, back in the day, it's like almost every vacation was kind of sometimes planned around some brewery stops or whatever, or road trips we did back in the day, like, to doing like Cleveland through Grand Rapids, Detroit, then around to Chicago, and then like because you could hit a bunch of different spots.
Sure.
Um, and Fatheads kind of had a moment back in the day with some of their beers, and so wanting to check them out. This was probably in 2013, maybe we did that road trip. Um, but yeah, of course. I mean, we used to go to Rehoboth every year, at least a couple of times, and it was always stop at Dogfish Brewery, then hang out at the pub,
Yeah.
for the weekend. Um,
What's the best experience you ever had visiting a brewery?
um, Visiting a brewery. I don't know. That's an interesting question.
Did you ever have a really cool tour or something like that?
Oh, I mean, yeah, it was probably the Dogfish tour,
Okay.
just because the personality of the people and just the vision of the company and just what they were about at the time. I would say, yeah. I mean, if I'm going way back, they're one of my gateways into craft beer. So, kind of catching whatever they had as far as that that culture and the excitement and the passion of what they were trying to do, what kind of hooked me in. So like that's yeah, that's probably that would probably be the answer to that one. I mean, Trogs has a good tour too, and recently getting to hang out there with a bunch of brewers for a collaborative brew day um, was also one of the greatest experiences I've had at a
Yeah,
brew.
that's great. I did the tour at Trogs and I really enjoyed it. Dogfish Head, I was supposed to do the tour when I was down there when I ran the Rehoboth Beach Marathon a couple years ago, and they they actually texted me during the race. Like like I heard the text through my headphones that they were rescheduling it for the following day, and I wasn't going to be there the following day, so I didn't get to do the tour. But I am very possibly going to do that race again this fall, so I'm hoping I'll get to check out the tour this time. I have heard and haven't gotten to do it that the tour at Yards in Philadelphia is supposed to be incredibly entertaining.
It
Um,
was. We took that tour as the Brewers Guild. We did a trip to Philly last summer, and Yards was one of the stops, and we did the tour there. And and the tour guide was hilarious. Like, yeah, that was a good time. But I don't know. It's like whoever you get probably contributes different humor and different personality to the experience. And I think it's important. I mean, that's like kind of the biggest part of it. I mean, you can walk through a dozen different buildings with a bunch of stainless steel tanks, but what's really going to set them apart is the personality and the people and, you know, the energy that they create and the vibe, all that.
yeah, for sure. So I have a couple of non-beer questions for you that I want to throw at you. Are you a sports fan?
I enjoy sports. I mean, I'm not like super into it, but yeah, I'd say like kind of average. I
Who
grew
are
up.
your favorite teams? Who are you rooting for?
Um, I'm a Boston sports fan. Red Sox, Patriots, Celtics. I grew up in Connecticut, northeastern Connecticut, and
Okay.
my dad worked for the state of Connecticut on campus at UConn. So um, I grew up in more of a basketball school environment,
Hmm.
um, just UConn games, practices, and getting to experience all that. Going to Patriots games when they sucked, and then when they didn't suck, and then seeing the Red Sox break the curse. Um, yeah, I'd say baseball. I struggle to watch on television. I'd rather be there. And football is kind of the opposite. I don't mind going to game, but like I'd rather watch it on TV because you get to kind of see more of what's going on. Uh,
Yeah, I agree with you.
and baseball's tough for me to watch on TV because it just seems kind of like you got to be there. It's more exciting to be in the seats there, you know.
My wife probably wishes that I found it tough to watch baseball on TV because I have it on just about every day. But it's certainly a more relaxed watching experience than football is. As far as your level of focus throughout the game, I
Hmm.
do love going to baseball games in person, and I agree with you that I'll go to a Penn State game every year. Um, I went to one Eagles game last season for the first time in a while, but it's hard. It is generally a better experience to watch football on television. It really
Yeah.
is, or
Yeah,
it's certainly a different
man,
experience.
Penn State. That's quite an experience. Uh,
Yeah,
you know, crazy, huge energy stadium.
yeah, it's always fun.
Mm.
Always enjoy it up there.
Yeah. So yeah, no, sports are sports. Yeah, people. I mean, I have tons of Eagles fan friends and a bunch of other. I'm not like a diehard. Like I was happy for the Eagles when they won against Patriots. It's not like I was mad or anything. Uh, Not as mad as Philly fans can get sometimes when they lose, but
Well, yeah, that's I know all about
every
that.
team has those people. It's okay. But
Absolutely.
all in good
Maybe we have more of them. I don't know, but yeah. I did go to a baseball game at Fenway Park. That was fun. That was a very cool experience.
Yeah, I mean, no matter who you are, who your team is, you got to go to Fenway and you got to go to Wrigley. Like those
Yeah,
are
I have
two
I have
like
stood right next to Wrigley Field, but I haven't yet been inside.
yeah, that's
So I
legendary fields. Yeah,
my real opportunity was when my daughter was in college in Chicago, and we should have gone to a game at the time, and we didn't. So
yeah.
one of these days I'll get there.
Hmm.
And to hit on my other favorite subject, have you ever been a runner?
I have not. My dad was for a long time. He wasn't like like he wouldn't do marathons, but he would just always run consistent. Like I don't know how many miles, but like significant amount. Um, I struggled with just shin splints and like just I don't know. I mean, if I could probably get into better shape, That'd probably be another thing to try out. I always thought swimming was a better exercise for me. It's less like contact, and you
Yeah.
could get more movement of all your muscles and
It's a
things.
great
But
exercise. It's probably the ideal exercise to kind of get your whole
no
body
impact. Yeah,
and
yeah.
and
But
and no impact. Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
maybe I just never got past that point where, because it's like people will hate running at first, and then something clicks at one point, and then it goes from a hate to an obsession or like a high. And
Yeah,
maybe I never achieved that. That would have sucked me in more. But yeah,
yeah. Well, it's interesting, and it gets harder as I get older. But it's something that I hope I can do for the rest of my life. Definitely
in some way, shape, or form.
enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it might look different, but yeah, go
yeah.
for
I don't know how long the marathons will keep going, but for the moment, I'm going to keep doing them, and you know, we'll see how it goes.
it. Yeah, yeah.
All right, so wrapping it up, any how can people find you, find out information about you and your brewery and all of that sort of thing? What's the best way?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, mainly we are mainly on two social platforms right now, just Instagram and Facebook. I primarily use Instagram. Everything just kind of trickles into Facebook. I haven't really gotten into some of these other apps yet, but maybe someday. Facebook or Instagram is at Cartel Brewing. We have cartelbrewing.com for the website. Those are kind of the two main digital platforms. We are 920 Landis Avenue in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. We are about a mile off the highway right next to Franklin and Marshall College. So plenty of parking, plenty of space, a lot of cool stuff going on. So if you're in the area or going to be in the area, come check us out.
Yeah, I highly recommend them. If you're in Lancaster, or make a point of going to Lancaster to check out Cartel. It'll be worth your trip. I think it's a great place. All right, Adam. Well, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, thanks, Alan. This is great. I'm glad the podcast is going well so far, and we wish you the best. And maybe we'll check in with you at a future date.
Thank you so much.
All right. Take care.
Again, thanks to Adam for coming on the podcast and talking today. Thank you for listening. Like, follow, or subscribe to the podcast. Leave a review or a comment. That'll help us get this thing really to take off. I appreciate you all being here. Come back for the next one. And in the meantime, watch my videos each day on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, or Facebook. Cheers.